The steady beep of the heart monitor should have been comforting. Instead, it was counting down to something I couldn't quite put my finger on. My newborn daughter slept peacefully in the hospital bassinet beside me while I pretended to rest, watching through half-closed eyes as my husband Weston and his mother Michelle huddled in the corner of the room whispering. "I'm Rose, and 12 hours ago I gave birth to the most beautiful baby girl in the world." I should have been basking in that new mom glow everyone talks about. Instead, I was fighting to keep my breathing steady as I watched them pull papers from Michelle's oversized designer handbag. "Rose, honey," Michelle's voice dripped with artificial sweetness. "Are you awake, dear?" I opened my eyes fully, mustering my best exhausted new mom smile. Just resting. Of course. Michelle perched on the edge of my bed, her perfectly manicured hand patting my blanket-covered knee. "We've been thinking about how to make things easier for you, especially with the baby." Weston moved to my other side, effectively boxing me in. "You need to focus on recovery and bonding with our little princess," he said, reaching for my hand. "Mum and I can handle everything else." I squeezed his hand back, remembering the text from Lincoln last week. "They're trying to access your rental property documents. Be careful." Michelle produced a stack of papers with yellow sticky tabs marking various pages. "We've prepared some simple paperwork, just temporary management of your assets while you recover." She smiled, all teeth. "That apartment building of yours needs constant attention, and you'll be far too busy with the baby." The apartment building I'd bought 3 years before meeting Weston. The one that generated enough passive income to cover our mortgage. The one Michelle had been dropping hints about, helping with, since we announced my pregnancy. "That's so thoughtful," I said, my voice soft and grateful. "But maybe we could review this later. I'm still a bit foggy from the medication." "Oh, it's really quite straightforward," Michelle pressed, pulling out an elegant fountain pen. "Just a standard power of attorney, temporary of course. We don't want you stressing about tenant issues while you're recovering." My daughter chose that moment to stir, letting out a tiny whimper. I moved to get up, but Weston quickly stepped in. "I've got her," he said, blocking my view of the bassinet. "Mum, why don't you explain the highlights to Rose?" As Michelle launched into her rehearsed speech about family support and maternal rest, I watched Weston's reflection in the window. He wasn't looking at our daughter. He was looking at his mother, waiting for some signal. "The sooner we get this sorted," Michelle continued, "the sooner you can focus entirely on being a mommy." She said the word mommy like it was a life sentence. A knock at the door made them both jump. Chelsea, my best friend since college, breezed in with an armful of flowers. "Rose!" she exclaimed, then stopped short, taking in the scene. Her eyes flickered to the papers, then to my face. "Oh, I'm sorry. Am I interrupting something?" "Not at all," I said quickly, reaching for her. "Michelle and Weston were just leaving some paperwork for me to review later." "Much later," Chelsea added firmly, setting down the flowers and giving my mother-in-law a pointed look. "Rose needs rest, not real estate management." Michelle's smile tightened, but she couldn't argue without seeming unreasonable. She gathered the papers, tucking them back into her bag. "Of course, dear. We'll discuss this when you're stronger." As they prepared to leave, I caught their reflection in the window again. Michelle winked at Weston, and he nodded slightly. They thought I was too tired, too medicated, too emotional to notice. They thought wrong. After they left, Chelsea pulled up a chair. "Want to tell me what that was really about?" I reached for my phone, pulled up my text conversation with Jasmine, and showed Chelsea the message I'd sent this morning, right after my water broke. "Everything in place. Trust papers filed. Let them try." "They really think they can take advantage of you right after giving birth," Chelsea whispered, incredulous. I looked at my sleeping daughter, perfect and peaceful in her bassinet. "They think I'm weak," I said quietly. They think because I'm emotional about the baby, I won't notice them trying to steal everything I built before I met Weston. Chelsea squeezed my hand. What are you going to do? I smiled, thinking of the documents already safely filed with my lawyer, the trust established in my daughter's name, and the recording app that had been running on my phone since they walked in. I'm going to let them think they're winning, I said, right up until they lose everything. 3 weeks before my due date, I sat in my sister Jasmine's home office, staring at bank statements spread across her desk. The numbers didn't lie, but I desperately wanted them to. He moved how much? I asked, my hand instinctively resting on my swollen belly. Jasmine pointed to a series of transactions. 50,000, broken into smaller amounts to avoid triggering alerts, all transferred to Michelle's account over the past 2 months. From our joint savings? My voice was hollow. The account we'd been building for the baby's future. My phone buzzed. Lincoln's name flashed on the screen. I put it on speaker. Rose, you need to hear this. Lincoln's voice was tight. Weston just called me, asking about ways to restructure your rental property ownership. He wanted to know if there were ways to transfer assets without requiring both signatures. Jasmine's head snapped up. Tell me you recorded that conversation. Already sent it to your email, Lincoln replied. Rose, I know he's my cousin, but what they're planning, it's not right. I closed my eyes, remembering Michelle's comments at my baby shower last week. Such a shame you're still managing that building yourself, dear. In your condition, you should let family handle these things. Rose? Jasmine's voice pulled me back. We need to act fast. They're clearly planning something for when you're vulnerable after giving birth. My phone buzzed again, a text from Weston. Hey, beautiful. Mum suggested we should have access to each other's emails. You know, in case anything happens during delivery. What's your password? I showed the message to Jasmine. Her expression darkened. That's it. We're calling Riker right now. She grabbed her phone and dialed. Riker, it's Jasmine. Remember that emergency protocol we discussed for my sister? We need to implement it. Today. The next few hours were a blur of legal documents and strategic planning. Riker arrived with a notary, and we worked methodically to protect everything I'd built. The trust will be ironclad, Riker explained, sliding papers across the desk. Once these are filed, neither Weston nor Michelle can touch the property or its income. It'll all go directly to your daughter's trust, with you as the sole trustee. Won't Weston notice when the paperwork goes through? I asked. Riker smiled grimly. That's the beauty of it. The trust was technically created the day you found out you were pregnant. We're just activating provisions that were already in place. Nothing new to flag in the system. My phone lit up with another text from Weston. Where are you, babe? Mum's worried about you driving around in your condition. Jasmine read over my shoulder and snorted. They're tracking your phone, aren't they? Find my iPhone, I confirmed. They've been concerned about my safety for weeks now. Perfect, Jasmine said. Let them think they know everything. Meanwhile, we'll be 10 steps ahead. I signed the final document, then looked at my sister. Am I being paranoid? What if this is all just pregnancy hormones making me suspicious? Jasmine pulled up an email on her computer. This arrived this morning from Jessica, Weston's half-sister. Read it. The email made my blood run cold. Rose, I should have told you sooner. Michelle tried to convince me to testify about your emotional instability if needed. Said it was just a precaution. I refused, but I thought you should know. Be careful. Still think you're being paranoid? Jasmine asked softly. I rubbed my belly, feeling my daughter kick. They really think they can use this baby as a weapon against me, use my own motherhood to strip everything away. Not anymore, Riker said, gathering the signed documents. These will be filed within the hour. Your property, your income, your future. It's all protected. As I drove home that evening, I crafted my response to Weston's email request. Of course, honey. Here's my password. Let me know if you need anything else. The password I gave him was to a decoy email account I'd created that morning. That night, as Weston slept beside me, I stared at the nursery door across the hall. The room he and Michelle had insisted on decorating themselves. The room where they'd whispered about future plans when they thought I was napping. My daughter kicked again, strong and insistent. I placed my hand over her movements, making her a silent promise. They don't want to co-parent, I whispered into the darkness. They want to consume, but they have no idea who they're dealing with, little one. No idea at all. Back in my hospital room, Michelle returned with the papers the next morning, perfectly timed during what should have been my breakfast. The recording app on my phone was already running, tucked beneath my pillow. "I brought you a smoothie, dear," Michelle chirped, setting down a suspiciously green concoction. "Much better than this hospital food." I took a tiny sip, then set it aside. "Thank you, that's so thoughtful. Now, about those papers from yesterday." She pulled them out with practiced casualness. "I know you were tired, but we really should get this sorted before you go home." The door opened, and Chelsea walked in, right on schedule. "Morning. Oh, those look like important documents." Michelle's smile tightened. "Family business." "Perfect." Chelsea pulled up a chair. "I'm basically family, plus I took business law last year. I'd love to help review everything." I pretended to struggle sitting up, buying time as Chelsea positioned herself with a clear view of both the papers and Michelle's face. "I just want what's best for the baby," I said softly, playing into their expectations of an emotional new mom. Everything seems so overwhelming right now. "Exactly why we're here to help," Michelle pounced, spreading out the documents. "See, this just gives Weston and me temporary authority over the apartment building, basic property management during your recovery." Chelsea leaned forward. "Oh, interesting. What kind of authority exactly?" Michelle's eye twitched. "Standard power of attorney, nothing unusual." "The thing is," I said, letting my voice waver slightly, "I promised my tenants I'd always be available for them. They're like family." "Family," Michelle emphasized, "is exactly why you should let us handle this. Weston and I have big plans. That building could be the cornerstone of our retirement fund." Chelsea's eyebrows shot up as my phone silently recorded every word. "Your retirement fund?" I asked innocently. "Our family's future," Michelle backtracked. "Of course, we'd need to make some changes. Raise rents, upgrade units. Investments require sacrifice." The door opened again, and Weston walked in. His eyes darted between us before fixing on the unsigned papers. "Everything okay here?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "Your wife seems hesitant," Michelle said, her tone carrying a hint of accusation. "Perhaps you could explain things better." Weston sat on my bed, taking my hand. "Baby, we just want to help. You trust me, right?" I squeezed his hand, thinking of the trust documents safely filed away. "Of course I trust you. It's just such a big decision." "It's temporary," he insisted, but his grip tightened slightly. "Just until you're stronger." Chelsea stood up. "Maybe Rose should have her lawyer review these first. Standard practice, right?" "No," Weston said too quickly. "I mean, no need to waste money on lawyers. This is family." I let tears well up in my eyes, easy to do with postpartum hormones. "I'm sorry, I'm just so emotional right now. Could I have today to think about it?" Michelle gathered the papers with barely concealed frustration. "Of course, dear, but remember, we're just trying to help." "I'll walk you out," Chelsea offered, giving me a subtle wink. As they left, I heard Weston pull his mother aside in the hallway. Their whispers carried through the partially open door. "She's stalling," Michelle hissed. "Oh, she'll sign," Weston replied. "Once we get her home, she'll be too exhausted to fight it. We'll get control of everything then. She won't even know what she gave up until it's too late. I reached for my phone, stopping the recording. Their footsteps faded down the hall as Chelsea returned, closing the door firmly. "Got it?" she asked. I played back the last few seconds. Their voices were clear, damning. "Perfect," Chelsea said, pulling out her own phone. "Jasmine's waiting for this. Want me to send it now?" I nodded, watching my daughter sleep peacefully in her bassinet. They really think sleep deprivation and baby blues will make me hand over everything I've worked for. "Their mistake," Chelsea typed rapidly. "Jasmine says Riker's already drafted the cease and desist letter. Should she send it?" Not yet." I shifted in bed, wincing at the post-delivery discomfort, a pain that felt almost satisfying now. Let them think they're winning. I want to see how far they'll go. Chelsea looked concerned. "Are you sure? They seem pretty determined." "Oh, I'm counting on that," I said, thinking of the documents hidden in my hospital bag, the ones that would destroy their plans completely. The further they go, the harder they'll fall. My phone buzzed with a text from Lincoln. "Michelle just called asking about property liquidation procedures. It's getting worse." I smiled, remembering Michelle's words about sacrifice. They have no idea what real sacrifice looks like, but they're about to find out. 2 days after coming home from the hospital, I casually mentioned a potential buyer for my apartment building during dinner. The way Weston's fork clattered against his plate was almost comical. "A buyer?" His voice cracked. "You can't be serious." "Some investment group," I said, rocking our daughter. "They left a message about making an offer." Michelle, who had invited herself over for the 3rd night in a row, set down her wineglass too hard. "Selling would be foolish, dear, especially now." "I thought you wanted to help manage it." I blinked innocently. "Managing is different from selling," Weston snapped, then quickly softened his tone. "I mean, we should discuss this as a family." My phone rang, Jasmine's ringtone. I answered on speaker as planned. "Rose, just letting you know those emergency asset freeze documents have been filed. No transfers can happen without court approval now." Weston's face went pale. Michelle's hand trembled as she reached for her wine. "What emergency freeze?" Weston demanded after I hung up. I shrugged, keeping my voice tired and confused. "Jasmine mentioned something about standard postpartum protection. Legal stuff. I was half asleep when she explained it." Later that night, I heard them arguing in the kitchen. "She knows something," Michelle hissed. "Those funds you moved won't clear if there's a freeze." "Keep your voice down," Weston warned. "We just need to speed up the timeline. Get her to sign while she's still overwhelmed with the baby." My phone vibrated with a text from Lincoln. "Weston just tried to transfer another $30,000 to Michelle's account. Bank flagged it. He's panicking." I forwarded the message to Jasmine, who replied immediately, "Perfect. Each attempt strengthens our case. BTW. Jessica wants to meet. Says it's important." The next morning, I met Jessica at a cafe while Michelle watched the baby, insisting I needed a break. Jessica looked nervous, fidgeting with her coffee cup. "I had to tell you," she started, glancing around. "Mum tried to get me to write a letter about your mental state. Said they might need it for legal proceedings about the baby's future." I recorded her statement on my phone while appearing to check messages. "What kind of legal proceedings?" Custody." Jessica's voice cracked. "They're building a case to claim you're unstable. Mum's been contacting her friends, other teachers, community leaders, asking them to vouch for Weston's parenting potential." My hand tightened around my cup. "And you?" I refused. Jessica met my eyes. "I've watched Mum destroy 2 marriages with her manipulation. I won't help her destroy yours." Back home, I found Weston in our home office, frantically clicking through computer screens. He slammed the laptop shut when he saw me. "How was coffee?" His casual tone was forced. Enlightening! I headed for the nursery, pausing in the doorway. Oh, by the way, that investment group called again. They're offering 7 figures. Weston grabbed my arm. You can't sell! I forbid it! Forbid? I kept my voice level, noting the red marks his fingers left on my skin. Interesting choice of words for property that isn't yours. His face darkened. Everything of yours is mine. We're married. Are we? I pulled away. Because married people don't usually steal from their spouses' accounts. The colour drained from his face. What are you talking about? $50,000, Weston, transferred to your mother's account in small amounts. Ring any bells? You've seemed so forgetful lately, he recovered quickly. We discussed those transfers. Pregnancy brain must be making you confused. My phone buzzed. A message from Riker. Evidence compiled, ready when you are. Maybe you're right, I said softly. Maybe I am confused. Maybe I should let you and your mother handle everything. Relief flooded his features. Exactly. We only want what's best. I headed to the nursery, where Michelle was rocking my daughter, looking every bit the doting grandmother. She smiled up at me, and for a moment I saw the mask slip, the calculating look in her eyes, the subtle triumph. Everything okay, dear? She asked sweetly. Perfect, I replied, taking my daughter. I was just telling Weston how grateful I am for family. Later, after they both left, I sent a group text to Jasmine, Chelsea, Lincoln and Riker. They took the bait. All pieces in place. Start phase 2 tomorrow. Chelsea replied first. About time. These people make me sick. Lincoln. Weston's getting sloppy with the transfers. Each attempt leaves more evidence. Jasmine. Documentation ready. They won't know what hit them. Riker. Meeting tomorrow at 2. Bring everything. I looked at my sleeping daughter, thinking of Michelle's possessive way of holding her, of Weston's threatening grip on my arm. They want to take everything, I whispered. But they forgot one thing. A mother protecting her child is the most dangerous force in nature. I think I need help, I sobbed into my hands, putting on the performance of my life. Everything feels so overwhelming. Michelle and Weston exchanged triumphant glances across our living room. I'd spent the morning deliberately making small mistakes, putting salt in my coffee, trying to warm a bottle in the microwave, forgetting to button my shirt properly. Oh, sweetheart, Michelle cooed. This is why we've been so worried. Postpartum depression is serious. I made an appointment, I whispered, with a therapist this afternoon. I'll drive you, Weston offered quickly. No! I wiped my eyes. I mean, please, I need to do this alone, just an hour to sort myself out. Michelle frowned. You shouldn't be driving in this state. Chelsea's picking me up, I assured them. I need this. After they reluctantly agreed, I went upstairs to rest before the appointment. Instead, I checked the hidden cameras I'd installed throughout the house. Sure enough, within minutes, they were in my home office. Through my phone, I watched Weston rifling through my desk while Michelle kept watch. Nothing here, he muttered. No property documents, no bank statements. Check her laptop, Michelle urged. Password protected, and she changed it recently. She's breaking down right on schedule, Michelle said smugly. Once she's diagnosed with postpartum depression, getting control will be even easier. I switched off the feed and texted Riker. They took the bait. See you at 2. The therapy office was actually Riker's law firm. Chelsea drove while I changed my daughter's diaper in the back seat. They're probably tearing apart your bedroom right now, she said. Good thing everything important is already safe, I replied. How long should we give them? Jasmine says an hour should be enough time to incriminate themselves thoroughly. Riker was waiting with Jessica when we arrived. Your sister's getting the surveillance footage live-streamed to her computer, he said. Ready to review what we have? For the next hour, we went through everything. bank statements showing unauthorized transfers, recordings of their conversations, Jessica's written statement about the custody plot, and emails Michelle had sent to community leaders seeking support for their scheme. "And this just came in," Riker said, turning his laptop toward me. "They tried to open a credit line in your daughter's name. Fortunately, the freeze caught it." My hand shook as I read the application. They used her social security number. They tried to steal my baby's identity before she's even a month old. "We have everything we need," Riker assured me. "Want to proceed?" "Not yet," I said, thinking of the scene I'd witnessed earlier. Let them dig their hole deeper. When Chelsea dropped me off, I made sure to seem distracted and vulnerable. Michelle and Weston were sitting exactly where I'd left them, though slightly out of breath. "How was therapy?" Michelle asked. "The therapist thinks I need time to adjust," I said vaguely. "Maybe you're right about handling the property stuff." Weston nearly tripped rushing to get the papers. "We can sign everything right now." "Tomorrow," I said. "I'm too tired today." That night, after they finally left, I received a flurry of texts. From Lincoln. Weston just called asking how to expedite property transfers without bank notification. From Jessica. Mum's bragging to her friends about getting control of $1 million property soon. From Jasmine. Footage shows them photographing your personal documents and searching your daughter's nursery, all recorded. The final message was from Riker. They filed for emergency financial power of attorney, claiming mental incapacity, exactly as we predicted. Ready to spring the trap? I looked at my daughter, peacefully sleeping in her crib, unaware of the war being waged around her. Michelle had tried to touch her trust fund, had tried to steal her future before she could even smile. "Do it," I texted back. Moments later, my phone rang. It was Weston. "The bank just froze everything," he said, panic evident in his voice. "All accounts, even Mom's." "How strange," I replied calmly. "Maybe we should discuss this as a family." "I'm coming over," he demanded. "No," I said firmly. "Tomorrow, bring your mother, bring those papers you want me to sign. Let's sort this out once and for all." After hanging up, I sent one final message to my team. "Tomorrow at 10. Be ready." Chelsea replied first. "Finally, want me to bring popcorn?" "Bring tissues," I wrote back. "They're going to need them." I walked to my daughter's crib, touching her tiny hand. "Your grandmother thinks love is about possession," I whispered. "Tomorrow, she learns it's about protection. And Mommy, she's about to protect everything that matters." Weston and Michelle arrived exactly at 10 a.m., armed with papers and fake concern. I sat at our dining room table, a thick manila envelope in front of me, my daughter sleeping peacefully in her swing nearby. "Before we start," I said quietly, "I have something to show you." "The signed papers?" Michelle asked eagerly. Not quite. I opened the envelope and spread out its contents. "These are bank statements showing $50,000 stolen from my accounts. These are surveillance photos of you searching my office. And these," I slid forward several pages, "are the credit applications you tried to open in my infant daughter's name." The colour drained from Weston's face. Michelle's hand flew to her throat. "You're confused," Weston started, but I cut him off. "Let's skip the part where you gaslight me." I played a recording on my phone, their conversation from my office yesterday. Their own voices filled the room, discussing their plans to have me declared mentally unfit. "You recorded us?" Michelle's voice shook with indignation. "That's illegal." "Actually," Jasmine said, walking in from the kitchen where she'd been waiting, "in this state, recording conversations in your own home is perfectly legal, especially when there's evidence of criminal conspiracy." Weston stood up so fast his chair toppled. "This is ridiculous. Rose, I'm your husband. Everything I did was for our future." "Our future?" I laughed softly. "You mean the future where you and your mother steal my property, drain my accounts and try to take my daughter? That future?" We would never, Michelle began. Save it. I pulled out another document. This is the emergency custody petition you were preparing. Jessica provided it, along with a sworn statement about how you tried to recruit her to testify against me. Michelle's face contorted. That ungrateful little... Careful, Jasmine warned. Everything you say is being recorded. Weston dropped to his knees beside my chair. Baby, please, we can work this out. I love you. I love our daughter. Love? I pushed my chair back. You tried to steal her identity before she could even smile. That's not love. That's fraud. What do you want? Michelle demanded. Money? We can pay back the transfers. I pulled out one final document. This is a divorce petition. I filed it last week. And this, I added another paper, is a criminal complaint for financial fraud, identity theft, and attempted grand larceny. You can't prove anything, Michelle sputtered. Actually, Lincoln said, emerging from the hallway, she can. I've documented every suspicious transaction, every attempt to access her accounts, every conversation where you discussed your plans. The police have copies. Weston lunged for the papers, but Jasmine was faster. Touch those documents and we'll add assault to the charges. This will ruin me, Weston whispered. My career, my reputation. You should have thought of that before trying to steal from your own daughter, I replied. I'm calling my lawyer, Michelle announced, reaching for her phone. Excellent idea, I agreed. You'll need one. The FBI takes identity theft quite seriously, especially when it involves minors. Michelle swayed on her feet. The FBI? Did you really think you could open fraudulent credit lines using a baby's social security number without consequences? This is all a misunderstanding, Weston pleaded. Rose, think about our family. I am thinking about family, my daughter's future, the one you tried to steal. Michelle suddenly clutched her chest, staggering dramatically. My heart. I can't. Save the performance, Jasmine said coldly. The paramedics you called before arriving are already outside. We saw them waiting. Michelle's eyes widened, her backup plan discovered. Here's what's going to happen, I said, standing up. You're both going to leave. Your lawyers can contact Riker about the divorce and criminal proceedings. If you try to contact me directly, if you come near my daughter, the police will be called immediately. You can't do this, Michelle whispered. Actually, I can, and I am. I walked to my daughter's swing, placing myself between them and her. You thought you could use my motherhood against me. You forgot that a mother's instinct isn't weakness, it's strength. This isn't over, Weston threatened. You're right, I agreed. The criminal investigation is just beginning. Michelle grabbed her son's arm. Come on, our lawyers will handle this. As they walked out, Michelle turned back. You'll regret this. Family should stick together. I agree, I said, looking at my daughter, then at Jasmine and Lincoln. That's exactly what I'm doing. After they left, Jasmine hugged me tight. You did it. No, I corrected, lifting my now awake daughter. We did it, and we're just getting started. Lincoln checked his phone. Riker says the DA is reviewing the evidence. They won't know what hit them. I kissed my daughter's forehead, breathing in her sweet baby scent. They thought they could break me. Instead, they broke themselves. The courthouse hallway buzzed with tension as I sat between Jasmine and Chelsea, my daughter sleeping against my chest in her carrier. Weston and Michelle sat at the far end with their lawyers, both looking significantly less polished than usual. All rise, the bailiff called as Judge Martinez entered. The first hour was a blur of financial evidence, bank statements, transfer records, and surveillance footage played on the courtroom screens. Michelle's face grew increasingly pale as her own voice filled the room, discussing plans to secure the property, while I was too emotional to fight back. Then came Jessica's testimony. Mrs. Jones approached me in March, Jessica stated clearly. She wanted me to testify that Rose was mentally unstable. When I refused, she threatened to reveal personal information about my past struggles with anxiety to my employer. Michelle shot up. "That's a lie." "Mrs. Jones, control your client," Judge Martinez warned Michelle's lawyer. "Continue, Ms. Jessica." "She and Weston had it all planned," Jessica continued. "Wait until Rose was vulnerable after giving birth, pressure her to sign over her assets, then file for emergency custody using manufactured evidence of mental instability." Weston's lawyer requested a brief recess, but the judge denied it. Lincoln's testimony came next, his financial expertise lending weight to every word. The pattern of transfers was deliberately structured to avoid detection, small amounts, multiple accounts, all flowing eventually to Mrs. Jones's personal account. "And the property documents?" Riker asked. "They attempted to create backdated transfer agreements," Lincoln explained. "I have emails from Weston requesting my help to backdate property records. I declined and reported it to the relevant authorities." Michelle's lawyer tried to object, but the evidence was already admitted. The final blow came from an unexpected source, Michelle's former teaching colleague, Sarah. "She called me in February," Sarah testified, "asked me to write a letter stating I'd witnessed Rose acting erratically. When I said I'd never seen any such behaviour, Michelle offered to help my daughter get into a private school where she had connections." Michelle stood up again, shaking. "This is all being twisted. We were trying to help." "By committing fraud?" Judge Martinez asked sharply. "By attempting to steal a child's identity? Please, explain how that constitutes help." Weston's lawyer quickly requested a moment to consult with his client. After whispered conversations, he approached the bench. "Your Honour, my client wishes to make a statement." Weston stood, his usual confidence shattered. I admit to the financial transfers, but it was my mother's idea. She convinced me Rose was going to sell everything, leave me with nothing. I was trying to protect our future." Michelle's screech echoed through the courtroom. "How dare you, after everything I've done for you?" "Mrs. Jones," Judge Martinez slammed his gavel, "one more outburst and you'll be held in contempt." The judge reviewed the evidence files one final time before looking up. "The evidence of financial fraud is overwhelming. The attempted identity theft of an infant is particularly disturbing. Add to that the conspiracy to manipulate custody proceedings." He turned to Weston. "Mr. Jones, your admission of guilt is noted, but doesn't excuse your actions. This court orders full financial restitution of all stolen funds, plus punitive damages. You'll also face criminal charges for fraud and attempted identity theft." Then to Michelle, "Mrs. Jones, your orchestration of this scheme, attempted witness tampering, and abuse of professional connections adds additional severity. You'll face separate criminal charges. The FBI's Identity Theft Division will handle that investigation." Michelle crumpled in her seat as the judge continued. "As for the property in question, all claims by the defendants are dismissed. Full ownership remains with the original trust. Furthermore, a permanent restraining order is granted, protecting both Rose and her child from the defendants." Weston tried one last time. "Your Honour, please. She's my daughter too." "A separate custody hearing will be scheduled," the judge replied coldly. "Given the evidence presented today, I suggest you prepare yourself for very limited, supervised contact, if any." As the judge delivered the final ruling, I felt tears sliding down my cheeks, not from sadness or fear, but from relief. Chelsea squeezed my hand while Jasmine rubbed my back. Michelle stormed out before the final gavel, but not before turning to shoot me a venomous look. Weston lingered, trying to approach, but bailiffs stepped between us. "Rose!" he called out desperately. "Please!" I stood, adjusting my sleeping daughter in her carrier. "You should have thought about please before you tried to steal her future." Outside the courthouse, surrounded by my real family, Jasmine, Chelsea, Lincoln, Jessica, and Riker. I finally let out a long breath. "It's really over?" I asked Riker. He nodded. "The criminal proceedings will take time, but the civil case is closed. Your daughter's future is secure." Jessica hugged me tight. "I'm so sorry about my mum and brother." "Don't be," I said. "You helped expose the truth. That's what real family does." My daughter stirred, opening her eyes to the bright afternoon sun. Looking at her, I felt stronger than ever. "Let's go home," I said. "The right home, with the right people." The autumn breeze carried the scent of fresh paint as I unlocked the door to my apartment building's newest renovation. Chelsea followed with coffee, while my daughter crawled enthusiastically across the pristine hardwood floors. "The contractors did an amazing job," Chelsea said, examining the modern fixtures. "Michelle would hate it." I laughed, scooping up my adventurous little explorer. That's partly why I chose this design. My phone buzzed, a news alert I'd been waiting for. Local teacher and son plead guilty in financial fraud case. Chelsea read over my shoulder. 8 months of legal battles, and they finally gave up. Turns out identity theft and fraud aren't as easy to explain away as they thought. I set my daughter down in the safety of her playpen. Jasmine says they're facing serious time. A knock at the door revealed Lincoln with a stack of papers. "Final bankruptcy filing for Weston," he announced. "He's lost everything trying to fight the inevitable." And Michelle? "Pension gone, house seized, her reputation in the community is destroyed." He shrugged. "Play stupid games. Win stupid prizes," Chelsea finished. Another knock. Jessica this time, looking nervous but determined. "Mum tried to contact me again, wanted me to beg you for mercy." "What did you tell her?" "That she should have thought about mercy before trying to steal from a baby." Jessica smiled weakly. "I also changed my number. Again." I hugged her tight. "You're always welcome in our real family." The sound of multiple footsteps announced the arrival of Jasmine and Riker carrying champagne and papers. "The last appeal was denied," Jasmine announced. "It's officially over." Riker handed me the documents. Weston signed away all parental rights in exchange for a slightly reduced sentence. "Your daughter is legally and fully yours alone." I stared at the papers, remembering Weston's last attempt to manipulate me during mediation. "We can still be a family, just drop the charges, give Mum her retirement dream." Speaking of family, Chelsea interrupted my thoughts. "The new tenant applications are amazing. 3 single mums escaping bad situations. They'd love these renovated units." "Approve them," I said immediately, "and set the rent below market rate. Let's help them build their own strength." "Michelle would definitely hate that," Jessica laughed. "Michelle can contemplate her life choices from her prison cell," Jasmine said, popping the champagne. "To justice." "To family," I corrected, watching my daughter stand wobbly-legged in her playpen, reaching for us all. Lincoln raised his glass. "To the woman they thought they could break." "They called me emotional," I said, lifting my daughter out of the playpen as she grabbed for Jasmine's curls. "They were right. I am emotional. About justice, about protecting what matters, about real family." "And about revenge?" Chelsea teased. "Not revenge," I corrected. "Consequences. They chose their path. They just didn't expect me to choose mine." Jessica's phone buzzed. She checked it and burst out laughing. "Mum's lawyer quit. Says she's impossible to work with. That's the 3rd one." "Karma," Jasmine sang. "Speaking of karma," Riker added, "the FBI found evidence of similar schemes in Michelle's past. 2 other daughters-in-law. They're reopening those cases." I watched my daughter toddle between her chosen aunts and uncles, the family we'd built from loyalty and love rather than blood and manipulation. "You know what the best revenge is?" I said, picking up my giggling girl. "This moment, right here, them sitting in their separate cells, knowing we're thriving without them." To thriving, Chelsea raised her glass. And to chosen family, Jessica added softly. My daughter reached for the shiny glasses, and we all laughed, protecting our drinks from her curious hands. The afternoon sun painted the new apartment in warm light, highlighting the space where a broken family's greed had been replaced by something stronger. They thought they could use my motherhood as a weapon, I said, kissing my daughter's curls. They never understood that a mother's love isn't weakness. It's the strongest force there is. Strong enough to protect what matters, Jasmine agreed. Strong enough to build something better, Chelsea added. Strong enough to change the future, Lincoln nodded. I looked around at my real family, the ones who stood by me, who fought beside me, who helped truth and justice prevail. Then at my daughter, growing stronger every day, her future secure and bright. They called me emotional, I whispered, holding her close. They were right. I am emotional. I am enraged. I am powerful. And now, finally, I am free. My daughter laughed, reaching for the sunlight streaming through her future home, surrounded by the love of those who had earned the right to be called family.